Hello everyone, this is Gorax. In this video, we will go over teams that can challenge Journ, one of the world bosses available in the game. We will compare multiple Radiance teams, both free to play and for the spenders. For easier navigation, use the chapters provided. Let's go! Before I showcase you different teams, let's talk about general strategy when it comes to Journ. Journ buffs himself with 60% death increase via his passive every time he casts a battle skill. However, the damage part of the battle skill is easy to dodge, but this also means you should avoid using melee damage dealers as they will die first very often. His ultimate skill is an AoE, so we need to make sure our most tanky heroes take it to the face. You can play either 2 tanks or a tank and a defensive hero that can be a range, preferably your healer, while your damage dealers are on the bottom. Casting skills at the right time is also harder because Journ busts his ultimate, so going default might yield better results. Try with timings and on default and compare the results yourself. The first team that I want to show you is the most pay-to-win team with an exclusive hero and exclusive artifact. However, that hero is a melee, and this will be a proof to you why you should not use melee heroes at this boss. So as you could see, the equipment here, full legendary with only burner here because we want Lorenfield to cast as much as possible. Let's go over the stats quickly. We build our tanks as defensive as possible, building our healer as well. We're trying to mitigate damage from the melee heroes here by absorbing that damage. Mithracy scales with enlightenment, so we could put some enlightenment on her as well. It's very hard to position Mithracy because her heal is not going to target those the most in the front and those the most in the back. Philander, fully offensive with exclusive artifact, inventor set. Huber, another damage dealer. This time around we're using Huber as Witch's Remain enabler, so Cyril set on him as well. He can do a lot damage through his ultimate, and we're using Lorenfield, who is our rally enabler, and we are focusing on constant ultimate, so lower cooldown on this will be quite enough because we create a domain for 15 seconds with burner. I cooldown is at 16 seconds something. Right, so this is the team, and this team, as you see, I mashed all the legendary heroes, and it might not work too well. Again, this is one of the first teams that I started with, so I've put all these timings here that I think will be the most beneficial. So yes, we are enabling Witches Remain through Huber, following by Lorenfield's, by Falanor's ultimate, but before that we put Lorenfield Aura to make sure all of them have the rally. We're trying to cast debuff immunity here and here on the rotation, and that's it. Obviously we don't need debuff immunity, but in this case we're using a melee hero that will be targeted by Journ. So Aura, we're gonna go with the crit Aura. And yeah, the most offensive power we can, and let's see the fight. So as you can see, our front line is getting debuffed. So attack down debuff on our heroes. Well, we're gonna dispel it. We're gonna provide us with debuff immunity, and the boss is gaining 60% defense through these battle skills. So now AoE, it hit our front line, and as I said previously, Philander is taking huge hits, okay? And this is the issue with all the melee heroes. You can either build them full defensive, but that will mean they're not doing enough damage. As you can see, the boss has defense aura now, so that's a 60% damage reduction here. We apply defense penalty basically, so but the boss still gains this. So that's why the damage is so slow. We're at 3 stacks at 9 million. Buffalander is about to die. We have Mithracy to keep him alive a little bit longer. But he still falls. Now we'll resurrect him, obviously, right? So that's good for us. He's going to die very, very quickly. Now keep in mind, this is again a random fight. All of those fights are really, really random. As long as we have someone who can boost their ultimate, or we have something that can reduce the ultimate, it adds a lot to the randomness of the fight. As you can see, the previous score was like at 15 million, I think. Let's look at the spreadsheet quickly. 18 million, so we still got a few minutes. Let's see if we can recreate it. But now with Asila dying and Mithracy just about to die, there we go. We are at 18 million again, which is not satisfactory, especially with that many legendary heroes. At the Continental Challenge, remember when it comes to Otherworld exploration, we will have certain buffs that will help us score over 22 million, and we don't care about the extra damage on the Otherworld exploration. We want this 22 million. So as you can see, 9,445 points. That is not what we want, especially from a team that is as expensive as this one. When it comes to the second team, I still had no idea how to tackle this boss. I replaced Philander and I put Fessa. So as you can see, the equipment here is pretty much the same. We're using Fessa with Rift Hourglass. We're using haste sets as well to make sure we can cast her ultimate, cast her skills as often as possible. And when you look through here, we want this damage reduction and damage delay on our heroes as much as possible. As I mentioned previously, we want the recharge speed penalty as well, and rotation of debuff. Immunity. Lorenfield is using still the same equipment. Huber is using the same equipment, and we got Mithracy here, still absorbing the damage, and Asila with haste to cast as much as possible. Timings just on 3 heroes. We want Lorenfield when he's available, and we want Asila and Mithracy to cast this rotation. So basically we have 3 debuff immunities, but we don't really care about these debuffs. But that's me again trying to show you guys that having all legendary team without a strategy is not a valid strategy. So this time around I also want to show you a different approach, 1 melee and 1 caster. So this will change the targeting of the boss. So only our tank will be getting damaged by the battle skill, so it's easier to sustain the tank, and ultimate will hit Mithracy and Asila. So this is why when you play this range formation, you want your range support to be as tanky as possible, so those heroes can survive. Let's look at the damage meter. As you can see, Lorenfield is doing almost same damage as Huber with that, because yeah, we don't have anyone to do defense down, so we use this, okay? And this is not optimal. It's better to run Huber without defense down. It's just better. The outcome will be better than using Huber with which is remain. So let's skip the fight. Let's see the final result. The reason why the damage is so slow is mainly because of that 60% defense up on the boss, and as well as I said, we're running Huber with Witch's Remain and Lorenfield here dealing damage, so that's not optional. And as you can see, Mithracy is about to fall. And this battle skill really makes it hard to use heroes such as Filtu. So if you have Filtu, you'll need to do something tricky, and I'll show that as well. I'll show you how to use filter by showing you how to position a certain tank. Or, well, not even a certain tank, basically 2 melee. When you run 2 melee, you might consider bringing in filter. If you don't have Huber and etc., right? But yeah, again, we're hitting this 14-minute mark, 9 stacks, so everyone is just falling. And let's look at the spreadsheet. So during my initial test, on average, I had 15 million here. So we're down to, was it 14 million? So 1 million down. Okay, let's move to another team. So at this point, I had a better understanding what the fight is all about. Still not perfect, but I understood that we can't play melee. We need some kind of a healer, and we need more damage. So this is the team that I came up with, and we are using Asila here. Again, I just wanted to keep her in this pay-to-win scenario. We could bring Garius as well. So there's different tanks, but since we used Garius in Alton, I wanted to avoid using Garius here as much as possible. If you couldn't make a good Alton team and you can still use Garius, then yes, you definitely want him here as well. Helps really much. And now we are changing Huber here, and I'm using Huber with a Gambler set, which is not optimal again. I mean, it's not bad, but this is like a season 1 strategy. At season 2, you want to change that equipment, okay? You want to try between Gambler set and Inventor set and find which one works better for you. So in this case, I'm running Gambler to show you guys that you might have scored more than me in the Gambler set. Using Eyeball of the Giant, I didn't opt for the full legendary artifact on this team. I could go for the Flute or the other one to increase his damage, but I went with this because it's really common and easy to get, and even pay-to-win players have that. Lorenfield, still going with this. You can build Lorenfield with Manticore as well to boost the damage here, which I'll probably show later. I'm not sure, but yeah, we'll see. Okay, so again, Haze said we want this aura to be there constantly, and now the hero that is the best, and that's a spoiler because we have so many teams to go through, but this hero here is definitely one of the best for this boss. Rose. So yes, Rose finally found a use. Rose doesn't work well in the Vortex, doesn't work well in Grave of Rot, basically where the boss is huge and the target is far away from your team. But when it's close, next to your teammates, you do a lot of damage. She's amazing to apply Witch's Remain as well, because her ultimate, depending on enlightenment, gains extra hits, which also heals. We're gonna use Cyril set, that makes sense on her. We are applying debuffs, so we are giving everyone 15% attack, and we're built her a little bit offensive because she's far in the back, not being hit, and on top of doing attack penalty, healing, and dealing damage as well, there's a chance of dispelling debuff on your team, so you know this attack down is good. Huge heal, by the way, burst heal. On top of that, she also applied recharge speed penalty on the boss, which means he is casting slower. So that is really good, and we are bringing damage Alton here. Alton with wrong set. Again, during my test, I put enlightenment set instead of the new set. And truth be told, I've done more damage with this set compared to Inventor's set. So while it's a wrong set, I kept it for the video purpose to show you that even with crappy and wrong equipment on the heroes, you can improve your damage compared to what I've done here. So if you're doing low damage and you're using the right sets, you are doing something wrong. So reach out to me on Discord and we can discuss. So Alton with Pipe Organ, giving this 10% attack to our Huber as well. Good damage dealer. I'm really surprised by how much damage he can do, and he provides us with a useful aura. Skill timings, we're gonna go on default. As I said, most of the time default works better against this boss, because now we have recharge speed penalty plus the boss boosts his ultimate, so it's really hard to cast it at perfect time. Obviously you want this aura to be on as much as possible. And yeah, let's play this fight. And this is the positioning. So in here, I tried to put Rose in the front. She is not tanky enough. But it's still enough in this case to do that. And ideally, you want to put someone else here. So as I was saying, she's safe in the back. She's not. She will be in different teams, but at the moment we're focusing on just those 2 heroes plus 2.5 damage dealers. And crit aura, as you can see, we can choose between 2. If you have Lorenfield, you're lucky. I don't. So let's play this fight. Okay, so we applied recharge speed penalty on the boss. We cast in the aura, so our heroes have Rally and Rose, as you could see, huge healing on Asila. Asila is also healing with healing us, so that's amazing. So Asila has a huge range covering Rose, and Rose covers Asila. Alton is doing quite a lot of damage, as you can see. He's going on par with Huber. Huber obviously needs some time to pop up. Basically, he needs a little bit of time to be as good as possible. But there it is, 7 million on first stack, second stack basically, and we're still going strong. The only issue here will be Rose dying early. So let's rewind this fight a little bit. We are at 6 stacks, 25 million damage already done. Huber has overtaken Alton. Alton with Enlightenment set, which obviously you want to replace. And I will put the right equipment on him and just show you the score. Which is, again, due to some randomness, might be higher, might be lower, but you know the drill by now. If we look at the spreadsheet, this team has done 31 million previously. And as I said, Ross will finally fall, but we achieved the goal. We've done 22 million. We're still going strong. And yeah, I mean, that's it. That's how you score. And I've tried a different team on my global icon because I don't have Asila, I don't have Alton, I don't have Lorenfield. So there's more free-to-play friendly teams coming. You could have a sneak peek on the spreadsheet so you know they are. But I think this is one of definitely harder boss to get good damage on as free-to-play player. So I changed Alton set to Inventors, and let's see how it plays out. 25 million damage at 6 stacks with the proper equipment on Alton, and he is out-damaging Huber here. And Rose again is the first one to fall, and we are at 33 million. 34, and now damage dealers are about to die. I mean, most of the damage dealers, or even tanks later on, will die eventually. They will get one-shotted. So basically, it's really hard to survive. So you're trying to do as much damage as possible before you hit that stacks. And there you go, 35 million damage with this team. And proper equipment, not even maxed out, because you can still change Huber's equipment. Next team is the team that will survive a little bit longer, because that was the idea. You could see Rose dying. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring in Sagomir in this team, and everyone else's equipment does not change. I'm still going to use Huber with Gambler to compare the damage. As you can see, Lorenfield, everything is the same. Now Rose is the same as well. Well, we got a new member of our team. It is Sagomir. Sagomir boosts the ultimate and gives a little bit of healing. He has debuff immunity and grants himself defense up 2. Also, he applies attack penalty and accuracy penalty. So we want accuracy on him. Asila will be still the main tank here. We want serial set as well, and we'll want to try and rotate that. We need accuracy. So as I said, the best way to do it is 2 accuracies here. And the timing default again. I mean, it works. Because the problem here is both Asila and Sagomir, they will be getting hit by this reducing energy, ultimate energy. So, you know, it will be going away. So it's very hard to rotate. And we got Rose. We can move her a little bit here. Doesn't really matter. and our damage dealers on the bottom. So everything is the same. We're still using crit aura here. And let's play the fight. I mean, the longer you play the fight, the better understanding of the fight you'll have, and you will notice you're not making so many mistakes, and you can improve, you can change things. And I'm not sure if you noticed where as the beam of, well, the battle skill of Journ went, it went sideways. It went to the left instead to the middle. So this is how you can utilize Filto in your team. You need to run 2 melee rows. You can remove then Huber and put in Filto. But I would not recommend doing that. I think still great damage coming from Huber. And you definitely want Rose in your team. She is the shining light. And look how much healing she does for both of our tanks. So this is one of the most optimal formations to run. And obviously, this is just an idea how to run it, guys. If you have other tanks, 2 tanks, put them in the front. Basically using this formation, and I will adjust it to make it more free-to-play friendly as we go. Okay, so I started high and I want to go low, and that's what we're gonna do. So let's speed up this fight. Let's see the total score. Okay, so with this team, we are able to survive 11 stacks. That's mainly because how strong and tanky our frontline is. And that's why this is probably one of the best teams. Obviously, you can max, you can adjust it to whatever you have, but I find it quite good. And we're at 1 minute mark, 1 minute left mark, basically. So this team has survived the longest. We got quite a lot of healing. The only issue is our damage is low. It could have been improved, but we can't replace Rose. Trust me, try that. And we can bring in a melee damage dealer because he will just die. And we could try bring a melee hero and do a cheesy strategy here, but then again, you will need someone to tank it, and that's the issue. So you can either play it more offensive and get as much damage as possible and die, or you could play it safe on full auto. Doesn't really matter when we cast skills, and enjoy the ride, get to 30 something million. Looking at the spreadsheet, let's see what was the previous damage done here. So this is it, 35 million damage previously with this, and this is the last total free to play, total of pay to win team that we're gonna do. We're gonna lower, as you can see, more purple, more blue coming up. And small note, the Asila and Sagomir placement allows for Filto. That is what I explained early in the fight. And there's the damage done. 34 million, so very close to what I had on average. Now, moving on to the next team. As you know, I used Garius at Alton, so I don't want to use Garius here. We want to use heroes that we didn't use on Alton, and this brings Dueling. Dueling is a defensive hero that is not being utilized very often, but his ultimate is actually quite cool. He grants an ally protection to all allies within range. It's a diamond shaped and gains defense up 2. He gains defense up 2 and recovery over time for 10 seconds. That is quite good because it helps him survive as long as possible. Now, he has this attack penalty here and taunt, which we don't really care about, and he's passive when he takes 1% less damage for every 3% HP lost. So we're building him as our total tank here. Now, our damage dealers are still the same, so I'm still using Gambler set to compare the damage through the same, utilizing the same setup, basically. Then we go to Lorenfiel, again, still trying to put this as much as possible. You could use, you could use Manticore to boost his damage if you don't care about the aura. We got Rose, again, very mandatory hero here, I believe one of the most, and we're still using Sagomir for his attack penalty, as well as a little bit of extra over ultimate up, and obviously we want to use 2 melee to make sure Rose stays safe in the back, and as you can see, we're trying to rotate a few things, but again, it doesn't really matter. Default will probably give you good scores, and this team can score up to 28 million, And we have our crit aura from Lorenfield, and there is an ongoing, well, there is an upcoming issue with this team when we go forward, because we will drop Lorenfield, and as you can see, he was the only one with an aura we can use here. But despite that, we can still do well. So yeah, this is the team again. Look at the healing from Rose, 6k per hit. That is with 6 maximum hits. That is 36,000 heal. So this is a huge burst heal. As long as we can keep the tanks alive, our damage dealers can do damage. And yeah, let's play this fight. Well, basically, let's skip it a little bit. So here we are, 5 stacks, 10 million damage, 3 minutes to go. And similarly to the previous fight, this formation allows to replace Huber with Felto if you have him. 10 stacks, almost 20 million damage, so we're going good. 1.5 minutes left on the clock. And yes, the boss is starting to head. As I said, after 10 stacks, it's really hard to survive, even for this weaker tanks, I would say, because you will see that after the ultimate, Sagomir's life is pretty cool, but it's just the tank that might either fall or barely survive. So that's about it. And as I said, a little bit of randomness. If we can keep him alive just a little bit longer, then we'll definitely hit more damage. As you can see, Scarab Shield comes in handy. Now, Rose's heal to top him up, a little bit of healing from Sagomir as well. And can we survive this? Bang, we still can. Remember, he is getting less damage the lower his HP is. And he also provides himself with recovery over time and defense up. And we're hitting that 25 million mark, which is the damage we've done. Well, 28 is what we've done previously with this team. And then we're moving to the 2 epic team. So very close to surviving, and I mean, this is really, if he dies now and you didn't hit your previous highest score, just do it again. Do it again and again. This is how I score. How I score higher. I do the fights again. And also, there's another way of increasing your damage while your heroes fall. You can move Huber and replace Rose, basically move them around. So this will allow you to do this maybe one extra ultimate when Journ focuses Lorenfield and Rose, instead of what happened now, focusing Lorenfield and Huber. So yeah, that's it. We almost survived the whole fight. 28 million damage with this setup. Now is the time for the team that doesn't have Lorenfield in. So if you're in the same boat as me and you don't have Lorenfield, you need to bring in someone else who can enable Rally for Huber. And this is one of the teams that was a contender for me. As you can see, we have Dueling, so I don't need to use Garius. We have Taflin, which is a hero that I use. And I have Huber, Rose, and Sagomir. So this is one of the teams that I considered. 28 million damage done. That is satisfactory. So again, Dueling using defensive stats, defensive items. Huber running the same equipment so we can compare the damage. You can always change it to the proper one if you have good inventors equipment. Rose is wearing the same equipment again, which is remain. We got Sagomir utilizing the same equipment, as you can see, because we have Dueling to absorb that damage, and we'll have an extra 15% attack all the time, basically. And then we have Taflin to boost our Huber's damage, giving him an extra 10% attack. And Taflin is using the inventor set here with high crit rate, crit damage, and basically attack as well. And his enabler. So while I'm using downpipe organ here, you can use another artifact to help with this enabler, especially when you're trying to run free rally heroes. At the moment, I'm running 2, so it's much easier to enable Huber. But if you're running free, then you might consider Wine of the Dragon Blood, which gives you attack speed, because every 6 attack, Taflin will apply Rally to Huber. So yeah, if you're running more heroes, more Rally heroes, if you opt for more offensive version, then definitely yes. And here we go, a little bit of casting. So since when he consumes a Rally, he grants 20% attack to all Rally allies, which is Huber. We want him to cast his ultimate just before Huber's. And we're trying a rotation here, so let's see how this plays out. No aura. That is the only issue. We're really losing a lot here by not having any aura. So that's why if you haven't used Garius on Alton, bringing this defensive aura here is good. And again, we're trying to use Rose to heal those two tanks so they can survive almost the whole fight. And the only replacement is Epic Hero instead of Legendary Hero. So let's see this fight. Now with the Pipe Organ, despite him applying Rally every 6 attack, as you can see here, it will not always happen at the right time, because he is also considered Rally hero, so he will apply that to himself. But most of the time we'll have Huber with Rally on. And again, if this result does not satisfy you, forget the timings and just run it on auto, and the damage will be either similar or higher, or maybe a little bit lower. But as I said, it's really hard to cast this at the right time, but since we have this synergy here between Taflin and Huber, you always want Taflin to cast before Huber. Everything else can be put on default. So let's speed this up. 5 stacks at 10 million again, well, the ending of 5 stacks at 10 million. Our tanks are basically going the same way. We only replace Lorenfield with Taflin. Let's see if this will be better result. So we get to 10 stacks, we are at 19 million damage. We got 1.5 minutes left. Our tanks are basically in the same zone as they were in the previous fight with Lorenfield, so nothing changed here, and we're aiming for 28 million damage that I've done with this team previously. Now, this is actually quite interesting team because we're not using any aura, and Lorenfield gives us a 30% crit damage aura, which is very useful for Huber, who is at almost 100% crit rate. Our tank has fallen first, which is unusual really at this point. But yeah, as I said, there's always a little bit of discrepancy between the average and the outcome you can see on the video, but the goal is that you can still achieve 22 million with this team, and if you have luck with your RNG, you can get up to 25 or even more, depending on the gear you can wear, because obviously the gear I use here is trying to aim for the end game stats, but not everyone is lucky enough to get it, and yeah. So 22 million still achieved. Next team will utilize 2 legendary heroes and 3 epic heroes. We are replacing Sagomir with Garius. This is a team for those of you who don't have a good Ice Blast team and you want to use Garius here, or you decided to use dueling on Alton, which will work as well. However, Garius with his staff is just such a strong pick. When it comes to the equipment, again, we're actually trying to put dueling in a more stats basically, because you could see that dueling is the first one to die. So instead of him having 3 ancestor protection set, we're changing it. We're giving him as much HP as possible, and we're giving ancestral set to Garius, and we are using Garius staff. This is probably second best artifact in season 2, first which is Remain. And as you can see here, we're basically using 3 legendary heroes, with this being optional. Witches Remain mandatory. If you don't have Witches Remain, Crown is your replacement. Garius staff is mandatory for this team to work. Or even not, because you could see we didn't really run extra healing. This is an extra healing and shield here, right? Compared to the previous team. But this team will help us to achieve our goal. Huber equipment is still the same, 95% crit rate, as I said. Taflin still the same. So since I'm running these 2 rally heroes, I'm using Downpipe Organ. If I had an extra one, I would go for different artifact to reduce his attack speed, so he can apply this rally quite more often. And again, we're trying these times here basically rotating the heals, rotating skills, and etc. I would still suggest trying it on default and these timings to compare, find the results, because obviously your haste will be a little bit different than my haste. And finally, we got a defensive aura. We have an aura basically, and that was the idea with this, just putting that. Obviously, I have other choices that I could play in, and I'll explain them later on. But yes, I'm trying to avoid slowly shifting out of the legendary heroes, moving on to those other heroes available to us. So let's play this fight. And with Garius, we have a super strong healing plus a shield if we are at full HP already, which will help our frontline to survive. But if you saw it in a previous fight with Sagomir, the frontline usually stays till the end of the fight. So it's not an issue if you run into tanks. Now, with running two tanks, we are sacrificing, with Garius, we are sacrificing a second attack penalty, but we still got Rose to apply at least one. So, there it is, this is the team, works really well. Let's speed this fight up. Okay, so we are at 8.5 million damage on 5 stacks, and we're still going strong. I mean, there's no damage done to the tanks thanks to these huge shields and all the healing. Okay, we are at 10 stacks with 18 million damage. Our tanks are falling, and that is unusual. I mean, look at this. We are at 18 million damage now, where we could previously get to 28 million. So again, a big discrepancy here. So if that happens to you, just rerun the fight and you will still get good results. I mean, this is similar to Vortex. You want to run fights until you find your highest threshold and then try to achieve it every day. The next team, we're going to use a different tank instead of Garius. I know some people have been lucky and go to Eurion, but what we're trying to do here is we're trying to keep the core, which is Huber, Taflin, and Rose, and put in different tanks to see which ones work best. And again, similar setup here. We're gonna use him basically as a support here, giving us ally protection, defense up, and recovery on himself. Rose to apply, which is remain. Huber uses Gambler set. Taflin uses the new Inventor set. Still with this, as I said, 2 rally heroes. We don't really need that much attack speed to apply that. And we have Euron, who will be using Banner of Oath. So yes, we're also downscaling when it comes to the artifacts. As you can see, now we are running only 2 legendary artifacts and 1 rare, right? So skill timing, yes, I'm still trying to do it, but as I said, if it doesn't work for you, just try default and you'll still have a lot of luck. And so this team was able to do 21 million on average in my previous tests. So no aura again. This is what is going to bite us in the ass a little bit. Overall, still a solid team, still a team that can get to 22 million damage. So let's just quickly show you the idea here. Again, Rose casting this attack down before those 2 skills. We're doing the damage. First Taflin ultimate, then Huber's ultimate, and our 3 supports basically. And it's very common now on these continental challenges. We're running mainly 2 damage dealers and 3 supports on few bosses anyway. So yeah, let's speed this fight again and see the result. So here we are, 6 stacks, 10 million damage, Huber cow damage in Taflin, that's obvious. Tanks are getting squashed a little bit. I mean, Rose is still there to heal them up as much as possible. The problem in the previous team with Rose and Garius was this overheal. If Garius healed first and then Rose followed, we didn't have a shield eventually. But if Rose healed first and then Garius shield, then it would. So it would be good to manually cast in a previous team. In here, we're just going auto. As you can see, look at this healing, just topping up our Eurion here. And here Eurion was very close to dying. He procced his passive, which saved us basically. We can still go in, but yes, this is a time where he will be getting lower on HP. And we're at 10 stacks, so the boss hurts. So, you know, we're very close to the damage that this team has done on average, so it is 21 million damage, as you can still see here. No aura, again, this is what's causing so much issues. I mean, imagine if we had some damage aura or even defensive aura. Not only it will help our heroes to survive longer, but also do damage. And as you know, we want to squeeze in this 22 million. We really want that. This is the goal. But this is one of the hardest bosses to do so. So yeah, we are at 21 million. Now, we hopefully will cast our ultimates before Journ's ultimate. Because if that happens, our damage dealers done their job. 22 million. Because now they're next on the plate and they're gonna have to fall. Bang, that's them gone. So yeah, 22 million, as you can see, over the average of 21. And we're still going strong. Well, strong. 23 million. There we go. Our single tank is surviving this. And the last woman standing, Rose. Yeah, so 23 million achieved with this team as well. 10,000 points. Next teams get rid of Eurion, and we bring in Eurion, which is a rare healer with a really short cooldown on his ultimate with only 15 seconds. Now, you can build Eurion more defensive to make sure he survives, or you could put Incest Burner here to lower that cooldown even further. Now, another thing that we're gonna use is this Monolith's Blessing set here, which will, on top of his ultimate healing, heal an ally with the lowest HP by 15% of the max HP. So we want this HP here to increase the healing of the set. Now, everyone else, including Dueling, will use similar equipment. Well, Dueling will actually use this absorption equipment here. Huber still using Gambler, and we got Rose following the same footsteps with Cyril and the stats, and Taflin. This time around, just to show you a different approach, we've put Wine of the Dragon Blood on Taflin, because next we'll try different teams as well, utilizing more rally heroes. Oh, just before we do that, let's go and take a look at the timings. So here we go, we got timings, we basically put some timings on, but we have this heal on default. We want that to happen constantly. Eurion will be the one facing the damage, so his ultimate, while being low cooldown, will get delayed by Journ's ultimate. So that's the point here. And yeah, let's play it. This basically shows you another approach. Instead of running 2 melee, you run melee and a range, but this setup does not allow you to use Filto or any other damage dealer that shoots in a straight line. So very basic rotations, following everything we've done so far. We're just lowering the heroes and trying to see this perfect spot where the lowest investment can get us over the line. And yes, again, 2 legendary artifacts only in this team. Sorry, one legendary artifact, just witches remain. So yes, we're downscaling, more free-to-play friendly team, requiring only 2 legendary heroes if you've been lucky enough for 2 seasons to get either one of them. Okay, we're hitting 5 stacks with almost 8 million damage. I mean, the damage portion here should stay basically the same. We're still using the 2 same damage dealers. So the only thing we're changing is these supports, because that is the main issue when it comes to these continental challenges and then other world exploration. We will be using different damage dealers, but we have only a limited amount of this support. So we need to find the best combination that will work for a certain boss. Because in most cases we'll run 2 or 3 supports while only having 2 damage dealers. So this is the point of this formation testing as well, to help you guys decide what will work for you, give you more than single idea how to build your team and what is the main aspect of this boss. As I mean, every time you play this fight, if you play it 10-20 times, you will gain so much experience. You will understand what's need to be done and when you need to cast your skills. So practice makes perfect. And here we are slowly approaching the 10 stacks mark where our team will start feeling the pain. We are at 14 million damage. Eurion is still surviving, doing well. So is our dueling. However, you can see that this damage is sticking now. So the team's average damage is at 25 million. So it is still more than 22, which gives us the max reward on the continental boss. Obviously, we want to push as much damage as possible on the continental bosses. But when it comes to other world exploration, we are happy with 22 million because that's the goal. Doesn't matter if you do 22 or 50 on the other world exploration, you still get the same reward. On the continental challenge, which is happening now, we do care about higher scores because they give us these points here, which will tally up, and the person with the highest will get the most reward. So yeah, there we go, 13 stacks. Now a tank is barely surviving, so Eurion's stats are quite good. He can take the beating, and we're so close to 22 million here. Now, if you have a better alternative than Eurion, you can use it. I mean, I have Jillian, so I'll definitely use Jillian over Eurion. But yeah, I mean, cheap option here, Eurion. And look at that, the battle skill is even hitting at 14 stacks. Right, so let's see if we can survive this ultimate here. Everyone is like at 75%. We can, look at that. Eurion barely took any damage. That's because we had the ally protection here. So dueling took most, and we are at 24.5 million damage. So yeah, dueling can tank it. He can tank it, and that's what matters in this boss, okay? So yeah, let's move on to the next team. Now we're moving to the free-to-play section, and I'll be honest with you guys, I had a headache. It's really hard to build a free-to-play team without a legendary hero, because a Radiance team without legendary heroes is not that good, especially on the support side as well as damage. So in this case, I'm still holding on to dear Huber, but I've tried to do something else. As you know, Journ has 60% defense up on his battle skills, so I wanted to bring in Voresh to utilize his Dispel and buff Prohibition. Now, the issue here is our haste is not enough if we run in the serial set to have that constantly, but we are changing a little bit. We don't have Ross, so we're going to use Witch's Remain on Voresh to apply this defense down and buff Prohibition at the same time. We're using dueling here and Eurion duet in the front, which was enough to survive last fight, if you remember, 25 million. And same damage dealers with Huber and Taflin. So again, only one legendary artifact, which is Remain, which if you replace it with Crown, you will lose about 15 to 20% damage, okay? So keep that in mind. So yeah, skill timing, I'm trying to do something, but it's not easy. As you know, it's really hard to actually time it with this ultimate steal plus him buffing himself. So this is the team, and let's play the fight. Again, this placement is the same. We're using 2 range. Basically, we booted Rose and we put in Voresh. So yeah, let's play this fight. So yeah, we will be able to see that our Voresh cast the battle skill before Journ's battle skill, but now we're providing him with buff Prohibition. So we're applying buff Prohibition, so he's not going to get defense up again. But since we have low haste, it would be better if we could manually cast Voresh skills. So to get the most of it, don't cast it at this time, right? Because then you're only using it here. You want to cast it before those 2 battle skills to make sure you can utilize the buff Prohibition and the boss doesn't get this buff at all. So as you can see, he's gonna get it once now. We had to skip it. And he's gonna get it twice. So now our damage dealers will cast their ultimates. And Taflin has been affected by it, but no Huber, and now we cast this buff prohibition, and you'll see that the boss does not get this. So that is huge. He's losing 60% defense buff. But again, we can't really do it again. We can get it on the last buff, on at least one of them. But it's enough for our damage dealers to cast before this buff is applied. And since Journ also takes a little bit of time before he casts his skill, we managed to get both of them. But in the next rotation, we will be desynced. So now we lost Rose, which means there is no burst heal over there on Dueling. But Voresh works in a similar way. However, his healing will be way lower, as you can see, 4k. But still enough to top us up. As long as we are full HP before the ultimate, we can keep going. And this team on average gets to 11 million damage. So hopefully we will be able to do more this time. But again, I don't like playing manually. So this Voresh thing doesn't really suit me. But I mean, if you're trying to go for the highest score, you definitely want to use whatever you can, which means your hands as well. There we go. Now we were in a close call because Dueling was about to die because his HP wasn't full, but Scarab saved us. Scarab is still in the main. Oops, and I just overtalked. So yeah, I talked too much. I didn't pay attention to Voresh ultimate. We missed on it. So, you know, the shield was there, the defense up was there. We're at 9 stacks. Both of the frontline heroes are about to fall. Remember, no attack down. No attack down is also an issue here. So this will be probably the last cast. And if we look at the spreadsheet again, there we are, 11 million on average, but we are at 15 million now. So there is a potential, if you can tweak this team around, bring something better than Dueling, but bring something better than Eurion. I mean, even Sagomir in this team will probably work better. But yeah, you can utilize Voresh to do this buff prohibition and reduce the amount of the damage boss absorbs, okay, because he's taking less damage with this. But yeah, 16 million, there we are, very close, very close. Remember, this is not a full affinity as well. This team doesn't have full affinity. Next team is something totally different. It's an idea of one of my Twitch viewers, and basically we're going to use Dain, a rare hero that is quite good to boost your tank. So the idea here is we're going to use Dain to apply his passive to a hero next to him, basically boosting the defense of Garius and making sure his heals are good and amazing. He also grants ally protection and damage reduction. So it's quite cool. We can keep our tanks alive, and we want this to be cast as much as possible, while also maintaining huge defense and HP, which the banner help us with. And we're gonna use this 2 haste set here. Now we will also use Garius, but this time around we're gonna use Garius without his staff, and you're gonna see why this staff is making Garius such a strong pick. Now, as you can see, the idea here was to boost Garius' healing. However, there's no point of boosting his healing that much because he's not applying a shield, so there's no overheal, no shield, but the idea was still there, so we're gonna use it, and I'm gonna show you why this stuff is such crucial. We're gonna use Eurion to heal with a healing set, so extra healing, and again, Spirit Initial Burner to help us with the cooldown. And the damage dealers, also, we're going down. I mean, we're putting in Taflin here, in Inventor set with Dragon Blood Goblet here, and our Welby. Welby can do a lot of damage, and we're building him with Eyeball of the Giant and Inventor set as well. He's actually quite cool because his ultimate gains 50% energy when he consumes Rally. So that's why we're still bringing Taflin to enable him, and we're going to play with default again. Right, so I mean, if it doesn't work on default for you, try the timers. Basically the same idea. You want to rotate Garius healing, you want to rotate Quarion healing, and same with this ultimate. Okay, so that's the idea here. We would preferably cast this first and then followed by Welby, but you can't time Welby because you want him to cast this as much as possible to deal the most damage. Now with Garius we have an aura, and let's play this. Let's see how much damage this team can do. As I said, we're not using a single legendary hero in this team, but we're using Garius. I wouldn't call Garius legendary hero without his staff. He's still good, don't get me wrong, still can absorb a lot of damage, but his staff is what's breaking the game. So let's rewind this fight and get back here at 5 stacks. Okay, so we are at 5 stacks and we're only doing 4 million damage. And the issue is not Welby, it's not Taflin. The issue is we don't have anyone with defense down. We could change and build Taflin that way, which I've done in Season 1, but that will reduce the damage. In theory, it might actually increase the total damage output on our team. But the issue here is we are doing quite a lot of overhealing with Quarion and Garius, and also our Dain, despite him boosting Garius' defenses, is not really useful at this boss. He's taking a lot of beating. He doesn't provide us with anything really. He's just boosting Garius' survival, who we know is already a very good tank, so that's not needed. So if you've been thinking about this idea, it's not really good. You're lacking damage. You definitely want someone to apply this defense down, basically. And this is why we had Rose, and this is why we had Sagomir. But we could use different heroes for that as well. As I said, you could build Taflin with it. But if you build Taflin, then you probably want to move Garius where he is, put Quarion where Dain is, and replace Dain with another damage source. Right, so this team has fallen right now, but the average damage this team can output is still within 11 million damage. So for those of you, obviously as a free-to-play player, you should not expect to always hit 22 million without trying and error. So 11 million still gives you a rewards from this lower threshold. And actually that was this team, 10.5 million, so very close to 11, not there yet. And as you can see, there's a note, no crown or witches. So no, attack down. Obviously those two can survive for quite a long time, but they won't deal damage. So let's skip this fight and move on to the other one. As I said previously, it's really hard for free-to-play players to hit 22 million on this boss. There's a one way I want to show you, you might manage to do it, and I'll still use Dain, I'll use Garius, and I use this time around 3 damage dealers. So as you can see, we're dropping Quarion, which doesn't really make sense, but we're doing it because we're going to use this melee hero here. The best way to actually deal with this boss and do 22 million would be by replacing Dain with Rose, but that is obviously not too free-to-play friendly. So again, Dain's building as a support here, Garius without his staff, and again, if you have staff, that's even better. Same damage dealers with Taflin and Welby, and this time around we're gonna show you how to use Hegio. You probably saw that on YouTube already, but I'm here just to remind you that this will work if we replaced Dain with Rose, or even add another tank here. It doesn't have to be Garius, dueling will work, but if you do that, you need to make sure Rose is built properly with tank items as well. Skill timing, nothing at all. That's the idea here. And we're gonna go and just basically show you how to play that. And while you can manually cast Hegio's ultimate each time, you don't really need to look. Even now, he's at the right place. We're gonna jump behind the boss and he will never get hit. Now, the issue with this is when the boss casts an ultimate, see what happens. 3 of them get hit. So you can't really use it, because your Hegio will die. This is why playing 2 tanks in Hegio does not work. You definitely want to replace this with someone else like Eurion. So despite it not working, this team was still able to do 14 million damage. But you can't play Hegio in this way, because as you can see, he is getting targeted by the battle skill despite those 2 guys being there. So you want to avoid that. Again, showing you how hard it is to utilize melee heroes against these bosses, and sadly melee heroes suffer like that on these bosses. So you could try and jump here as well. Different ways, different approaches, and this time around the boss will hit there and you're in a safe spot. But not really, because the ultimate still happens. So yeah, this is the way why you should not be playing this. And this team, despite all that, still hit 14 million damage on average. Look at this. Right, as you can see, there we go. Well, not this one, because that one is using Dain. When we switched to Eurion, this is where we've done the 14 million. This team couldn't, and I'm just gonna show you why. Let's rewind this fight and then let's put Eurion in, because this is the thing that I should have done in this spreadsheet. I added an extra team and I forgot to put it on into the game. So you'll see that this Dain team doesn't really work, and then we add Eurion and we'll see the potential. So let's just rewind this. Yeah, so our frontline dies at 5 stacks, which is terrible. We're not even getting to 8 million. Maybe we will, but once we get hit by this ultimate, that's us gone. 2 of our damage dealers saying bye-bye, and we can't really hit even the lowest threshold. So definitely avoid this team. Now we'll add Eurion, and we need to jump to the back, otherwise Hegio will get targeted by the ultimate. So if we jump to the back, the boss should target Garius and Eurion. As you can see, that's happening, and now we can just play it on auto, because Hegio will keep on jumping in place, as you can see. Now again, this team does not use Crown or Witch's Remain, and basically you can put it on Taflin. So as you can see, at 9 stacks we already achieved the 11 million, which is almost where we can get to with this team, and no Crown or Witches, as you can see. Still going strong, still the free-to-play friendly variant without any legendary artifacts. I'll just go over the equipment again after the fight. So yeah, Garius is about to fall despite him being so tanky. And there we go, the average 14 million has been achieved. So let's quickly go over the equipment again, and then I'm going to put the Witch's Remain, well, Crown, on Taflin. So I think the easiest way to do it is through here. There we go. Oh no, actually this has not been saved. Right, so Eurion again, extra healing through the set, plus the Incense Burner, Garius without staff, Hegio, Manticore, because we're using the eyeball on Welby, and we're using this Wine of the Black Dragon. So we're gonna change the equipment now. So here we go, this is the equipment we're gonna wear. Crown, we're gonna change it with Sirius Reaper, so whenever he casts an ultimate, everyone else will get 15% attack up, which is amazing, plus the 20% here. So that's cool. Let's go and play this fight and see if we can improve the damage again. Remember, first jump is important. You want to place Hegio behind the boss, and then you can play it on auto, as the boss will only target Garius and Eurion. And there we go, defense down. Bang, still no attack penalty. It's really hard to build this team without Rose and attack penalty. So as we can see, Taflin damage has dropped. The total damage, I mean, we're at 9 million with 6 stacks, so we'll see where it gets us. Let's see if it's worth it. So 12 million, almost 9, almost 10 stacks, Garius dies, so the result is very similar. I mean, we don't really need to build defense down on this team to thrive. All we are really missing is attack down. As I mentioned, it's really hard to come up with free-to-play team that utilize only rare and epic heroes and only rare and epic artifacts. You need a mix and match basically to do the most damage here. And this is a team that I've been considering using on my global account, and while I've done 27 million on the test server, I've done 25 million, 28.5 million on my global. So that is quite cool, and this is the lineup I'm going to go with. I use Jillian on Alton currently, but I'm going to drop her off Alton team and put someone else there. And as you can see, I'm utilizing this extra healing here. I'm going to run Huber, and this time around Huber has this inventor set. This is a copy basically of my main account. Rose with Witch's Remain and Cyril's Helmet here. Sagomir with Rift Hourglass and the defensive set, as well as Taflin using this and inventor set. So the idea here is we'll have, there we go, bang, we'll have Jillian and Sagomir tanking. So basically I'm replacing Eurion with Jillian, and while I have some casting here, we can play it both ways, really. So let's go with the casting first, and Rose again is a game changer. On my main account, instead of running Mirror of the Living, I'm running Garius stuff on Jillian to have an extra shield. And the idea of that team is the same as in the previous. We're actually boosting Taflin energy here. We want him to cast this as often as possible. This will help us to keep his stacks of basically damage up, and also cast his ultimate as often as possible. This way we can have this extra attack up, but also as you will see sometimes this this carrot, yeah, that's Sagomir's carrot. Go straight to Sagomir. So yeah, the carrot is not that important, but it obviously helps. As you can see, Jillian's getting that now, so Jillian will be casting this constantly. That's what we want. We want this defense up on her and Sagomir. And Rose to basically make sure Sagomir stays alive. So as I said, 3 supports, 2 damage dealers. Okay, so we are almost at 22 million damage. We're still going strong. 12 stacks. No one to dispel bosses. Defense up. But we have defense down. We have recharge speed penalty. We have attack penalty on a rotation. So everything is looking good. And this is a team that can definitely easily get you over 22 million. But as I said again, we are using 4 legendary heroes, and this is what we expect from a team that runs 4 legendary heroes compared to the teams that I show you early on. This has a strategy, this has a synergy, this team works. So mashing all these random legendaries and expecting to have 22 million against these bosses is not going to happen. You need to put some thought into it, you need to try, you need to change the equipment, see what works. And yeah, we're at 25 million. Again, this is the team that I can recreate, and I did recreate on global, and I've done 28 million there. This basically meaning I can do over 28 million with 4 teams so far, so yielding me a lot of points. So yeah, this team works. And the last team, I think this is the best free-to-play friendly team. If you manage to get Rose, I mean, as you could see through all these videos, she is the best hero for this boss. We're gonna use Duel Link. Maybe you still remember him from the beginning of the video. We used him to a great success, great ally protection, defense up and recovery on himself. Our second tank will be Eurion. As you could see, we can utilize him. We can use him as a tank, provide extra healing, amazing healing, defense up as well. So yeah, great addition there. Our main damage dealer will be Welby here. We will use Welby with Inventor set and Eyeball of the Giant plus Taflin with this Wine of the Dragon Blood, and we'll use Rose with Witch's Remain and Cyril set. This is what makes her so strong, and you'll see as this team can do 23 million. This is probably the most free-to-play friendly if you've been lucky to get a dupe. And Rose, okay? I know some free-to-play players have a lot of legendary heroes. They've been lucky. You know, it's all about RNG. It's not a team for everyone, but this is the best chance of getting this 23 million with using heroes that you don't use anywhere else. And again, no aura. And rotation will be very similar to everything we've seen so far. So let's enjoy this fight. So yeah, the average here was at, oh, sorry, that's the wrong tab. The average here was at 23 million with this team. So yeah, quite good. And as you can see, the teams that did the most damage all included Rose. So she's definitely something that is needed on this boss to make the most of it. And it will be very hard to come up with a second team if you're playing this team, one of those teams, and you want to do good on Otherworld exploration. Picking up a second team that can do 22 million here is also going to be a challenge. So yeah, Journ is definitely one of the hardest bosses here. Next on the list, Shine Ashton. To summarize, Journ is definitely one of the harder bosses available in the Continental Challenge, especially for free-to-play players. Rose is definitely a mandatory hero for those of you who want to do more than 22 million or have easy time doing 22 million. He's not the boss where you can just mash 5 very strong legendary heroes and expect good damage. You need to focus more on the synergy between those heroes. And the most free-to-play friendly formation will require Rose with 2 epic and 2 rare heroes. Other teams might have a chance to get to 22 million on Otherworld exploration, where we'll have multiple buffs available to us through the guild, but one can expect a struggle if you can have those legendary Radiance heroes that are amazing at dealing damage. And avoid using melee unless it's a Hegio who can jump behind the boss. Personally, I opted up for Sagomir, Jillian, Rose, Huber, and Taflin team, replacing Jillian in my Alton team with Voresh. Tell me which team you decided to go, or what team works for you. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please click the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. As always, thank you for watching, stay safe, bye!